out tomorrow. Journalist Keith O'Brien says that the parallels between Ohtani's interpreter and Pete Rose's gambling scandal are uncanny. Keith O'Brien joins us. This morning he's the author of Charlie Hustle, The Rise and Fall of Pete Rose in the Last Glory Days of Baseball. Went to a great high school, I understand, Keith, a former Bomber.
Same high school as you, Joe.
Same high school where I went. I'm trying to think, if you grew up in the 70s, were you of age to watch what kind of player Pete Rose was in the Big Red Machine?
Yeah, so I was too young to remember the Big Red Machine years, 75, 76. But I'm in the wheelhouse of my boyhood love for baseball in 1984 when he's traded back to the Reds. And of course, I remember everything after that, both the good and the bad, and there was both in the 1980s.
If you grow up in Cincinnati, you can't escape. I guess a lot of towns, that's what it's like with baseball when you're a kid. It was amazing, but you did miss out a little bit on, Morgan, Bench, Perez, all those guys. How does this, I don't understand the similarities, and I remember, Pete Rose, I remember what happened. Was it just on the Reds? Was it ever against the Reds when he was controlling who the starting pitchers were? It all made a difference, and it was Giamatti, who now, there's a more famous Giamatti now, but the guy's son. So many weird things happen, Keith, but what are the parallels?
Well, as you said, the parallels between what's happening today and what happened 35 years ago are significant. To be clear, there's no indication that Shohei Ohtani or his interpreter was betting on baseball. And that was what, of course, Pete Rose was accused of and was doing in the 1980s. But the way it's all unfolding right now is incredibly similar.
It's weird. There's some weird things that we don't understand, and it's been a long time before Shohei Ohtani is going to be speaking to the press.
And this is just undoubtedly already, no matter what the details are, it is already the greatest gambling scandal in baseball since Pete Rose 35 years ago. And, just like 35 years ago, it's the press who is breaking the news. It's a federal investigation, around the inner circle of the player. These are the things that started to unravel Pete's world in 1989.
Wasn't on DraftKings either. And when it's, that's not a great, or it can be a risky component of society when you're dealing with, these are underworld figures you're dealing with, aren't they? Or that Pete dealt with. These were not legal bets that were being placed.
Well, Pete obviously in the 1980s was betting with bookies. Well, and the same thing is alleged today. And there's a reason, let's be clear, there's a reason why a player or someone from his inner circle would be betting with an illegal bookie rather than on DraftKings, and that is Major League Baseball, the NFL, all the leagues are hiring third-party contractors who are monitoring wagering on legal platforms. They can flag in a matter of minutes if someone is placing a bet on a game inside a clubhouse, someone connected to a player. So if one did want to bet today, as Pete Rose once did, the only way to do it is to go to the underworld. And, we all know now that legal gambling is a major industry. $120 billion was legally wagered on sports last year. But also, roughly every year, about $60 billion is illegally wagered on sports. And so those bookies are still operating in the underworld. But the underworld today isn't back alleys or smoky bar rooms. It's, some of these bookies today, illegal bookies, have glossy websites just like DraftKings and FanDuel and the others.
What do we know about, was Shohei himself behind the wagers? What do we know exactly at this point?
So the fact is we don't know much. The story has changed several times just in the past 5 days. What we know at this hour is that someone, whether it was Shohei Ohtani or his interpreter, paid off a significant debt allegedly to an illegal bookmaker. This reportedly is a figure of millions of dollars, $4.5 million. It's an enormous amount of money surrounding the biggest star in baseball today.
Was it stolen from him, or was that just the story to cover up the gambling?
Who knows? Who knows? And that's why it will be interesting to see what Shohei does or does not say today, just as it was interesting 35 years ago to see what Pete Rose would or would not say about what was happening in his inner circle at that time. And that's another, key parallel here. Pete often and rarely actually placed his own bets on sports. He was always using guys in his inner circle. And it was federal investigations around these men, Pete's friends and cohorts, that led to Pete's downfall. The feds weren't looking into Pete Rose in 1988. They were looking into the men around him, and that's what led to the knowledge of what Pete Rose was doing back then.
$4.5 is a lot of money. $4.5 million. What did he sign with the Dodgers?
$700 million.
So let's keep that in perspective.
It's not a lot for him, but it would be a lot for his interpreter.
It would.
To get caught into if they were actually bets coming from his
interpreter. I've heard about guys, we don't need to name names, but when they're in Vegas, some basketball guy, $500,000.
Unless you're betting on baseball games, which you don't know.
It's a lot of money. And I think it's weird that they're both so amazingly. I mean, Pete, no one's ever getting 4,200 hits.
Yeah.
I don't think, ever. That's like 20 seasons of 200 hits.
It's an incredible figure. And just to put it in perspective, I mean, the active leader in baseball today, the active hit leader, has roughly half of that, and he's in his late 30s. And so this is a record that's never going to fall. It was a record that people didn't think was going to fall in the first place, when Ty Cobb first held
it. Another piece of work, too. Because Pete is, you were born on the West Side, but I don't really think you're from the West Side. Right?
I know, now we're having a Cincinnati conversation. Right,
and I'm definitely from over, I used to see Pete around, because he went to West High, which was right up the street from my house. He had a Corvette. He's just a real interesting guy, but both of them incredibly talented. Are the Dodgers bummed? Like, is this going to be in his head this year, do you think? Is this going to get in the way of what they paid for? They paid for a lot to have this guy. They won a World Series badly, right?
I mean, forget about the Dodgers for a second. I believe Major League Baseball is incredibly disappointed. Again, this is the most recognizable, the most famous baseball star in the world. And just as Pete Rose once was in 1989. I mean, Pete Rose in 1989 was like an aging version.
This has to be handled right, and I wonder how that colors how much they say or how they try. I mean, the cover-up's always worse than the crime too. So we'll be watching that. You'll be on it?
I'll be on it, Joe.
Where you live now?
I live in New Hampshire now.
You live in New Hampshire now?
Yeah.
Long way from the west side of Ohio.
Good timing on the book.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just as we planned.
Yeah.
You a Skyline, a Gold Star, or a Price Hill Chili guy?
I'm a Skyline guy.
You're a Skyline guy.
Yeah.
We knew that family. Friends with my parents, the Lambertitas. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's all the same. Kind of got that cinnamon taste.
Very similar Cincinnati chili flavor.
You had it?
Yes.
Graders.
They've actually sent it out to us.
Grater's ice cream, I'm all in.
All in. Yeah.
We can have that for breakfast. Right?
Unfortunately, yes. Great.
Raspberry with chocolate chunk. That is the great Grater's flavor.
I don't like that one.
I love that one.
I like that. No, I don't like. I had just some regular vanilla. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I didn't have that much. This is your tea.
Thanks,
Keith.
And congratulations on the book.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.